Welcome to the Rise with Anita podcast. I'm your host, Anita, with the beautiful Melanie Mighty Soul. Going to be talking today about the new moon that is taking place in Leo. And yeah, I'm going to let Melanie kick us off.
Cool. Thanks for having me. So hello for all those who are watching. My name is Melanie Marisol, and I am a business astrologer for small and medium enterprise CEOs, business leaders, and change makers. I help them discern the divine assignment that they were meant to live out and the legacy they were meant to leave behind. I also help them understand the spiritual meaning behind scaling their businesses to multi-million or billion-dollar businesses. So before we begin, anybody who's watching, there are going to be timestamps below. You can check out your sun, moon, and risings. We're going to start with a general astrological weather forecast, and then afterwards, we will go through each zodiac sign and we'll review your horoscope. And of course, Anita will chime in if she has anything to add to what I'm sharing.
Beautiful. I'm really excited to hear what is in store for us.
All right. So for this new moon, it is in Leo, the sign that represents the divine inner child, your truest essence prior to any conditioning that you might have experienced as a kid. So the overall vibe for this new moon is I radiate the energy of love, loyalty, and play, all of which helps me attune to my true nature. So courage, creativity, and fun are all themes for this new moon. And with that, we had our last full moon in Aquarius. So we were removing things that were slowing us down. So slowing us down in the way that we can broadcast our highest self, our future self, our weirdest self, whereas Aquarius is the weirdo of the zodiac. But Leo is the divine inner child, the purest essence, I guess you could say. I always think of it as kind of like your 4 to 6-year-old self. So whereas last one we were trying to become the highest self, this is more returning back to our truest self, right? So with that, we'll go over some things that are happening in the cosmos. So on the internet, namely Instagram, with all the pop astrology that's out there, I don't know who's sharing this, but apparently people believe there's up to 5 to 6 planets in retrograde at this time. That is false. I don't know who's telling you that. They're wrong. So currently, we do still have Venus in retrograde until September 3rd of this year. So again, not the most amazing time to necessarily start a business, but again, if you must do what you gotta do. Not the best time to start a new offering, but maybe you could do like a beta launch and get some feedback on it. And not the best time to sign contracts because sometimes you don't really have all the information you need. You get a little seduced by the possibility and you kind of forget your common sense, right? Additionally, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are still in retrograde as well. So check out our previous podcast episode on the full moon in Aquarius if you want more information on that. They're outer planets, so they're going to stay in retrograde for a minute. The only other celestial body that is affecting the collective that is in retrograde is Chiron. That is the archetype of the wounded healer. It represents the deepest wound that we have that we're meant to heal so that we can teach others how to heal from it in this lifetime as well. So with that, it just makes it, with Chiron in retrograde, it just kind of makes like our tenderest wounds like the most exposed. So we are still driving with the Sag Girl summer energy infused here. However, we have a brief reprieve with this new moon in Leo as we are showing up as our most childlike version of ourselves, married with all of the mature life experience that we've had up until this point. So I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yes, and it's basically embracing your authentic self, being spontaneous, and just having fun while you're putting out these offers.
Yeah, so maybe it could be like a sad hot girl summer at the same time. We can do it all, right?
Embrace your weird.
Exactly. And as I said before in other recordings, in European mythology, the term weird was really spelled like W-Y-R-D, and it is pronounced Wyrd. So if you are following your Wyrd or your weird, you're doing your own unique path. So not everybody's actually meant to be authentic in this lifetime. Maybe some people are really having some sort of personal karma to work through or something, and they have to learn how to be a chameleon. But if you're watching this YouTube channel, you're probably very interested in being your truest self, your most authentic self across all kinds of social interactions. And you want to be as consistent and integrated as possible. So if you're interested in that, you're on the right channel. If that's not what you're meant to be doing, that's fine. You can still listen to us talk anyway. With the current activity going on, though, on August 16th, which is when the new moon Leo will be happening, it'll be occurring at 2:38 a.m. Pacific time or 5:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, the sun is conjunct Venus on the 16th of August. So despite the fact that Venus is in retrograde, it is still a good day to sell. So if you have like your signature offer really nailed down and that's like your cash cow, good day to promote it. You'll probably get some sales. Mercury, the planet of communication and learning, and also salesmanship, is going to be conjunct Mars as well on August 16th. So Mars is the planet of taking action. So basically, your salesmanship abilities are going to be heightened or increased when you take the bold, aligned action from an inspired place, from source, not necessarily a stress place of, oh my gosh, I need money, right? So additionally, Mars is also trining with Uranus at the same time. There's a lot going on in the heavens on the 16th of August. So it's an excellent time to get creative with your marketing and promotion. So not necessarily promote a new offer, although if you feel called, go right ahead. But how can you be creative in promoting your offer? Maybe you might wake up in the morning, do your meditation, and source suggests that you go on Instagram Live and explain your promotion. Go for it. Maybe you feel called to promote it organically in a podcast interview. I'll be doing my first official podcast interview on the 16th of August. So I'm going to show up though with my most joyous energy. I'm going to be showing up with my most unbridled energy. I'm not going to be holding myself back. And my excitement is what is going to naturally attract some clients, I'm pretty sure, out of the listeners of this particular podcast. So just something to consider on the 16th of August. Good time to sell, good time to double down on what your signature offer is, and it's a good time to get wacky with a promotion. So with that, Anita, if you have anything else to say with what I just shared, go ahead and share it. And afterwards, we're going to go through the horoscope for each zodiac sign.
I'm just getting the intuitive nudge to make your offers as spruced up or weird as possible. So maybe it's in the way you're communicating it. It's maybe in the creative aspect, because we are also in the sign of Leo, which happens to be a more creative sign. So maybe it's also coming up with a new way of presenting it. So if maybe your theme for going on so forth has been like straight podcast interviews, maybe you switch your method to reels or getting more creative in the messaging of what it is you're trying to get out there. And then also just being open to the possibility of what is possible, because it's that energy of expecting, not accepting, that there is greatness that is coming.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So for those who are watching, you can always skip ahead if you want. There's going to be timestamps below on your horoscopes. As for viewing your horoscope, you can check out your sun, moon, or rising sign. So the sun is the core archetype you're meant to embody in this lifetime. The moon is your emotional innermost self. And the rising sign is the energy you're naturally broadcasting when someone gets to know you one-on-one. So with that, we'll go into Aries, sun, moon, and rising. So this is a cleansing refresh around your mode of self-expression. So taking bold action is kind of your middle name. You do that all the time. However, now you're tapping into your inner child instead of the pure divine masculine energy that you usually lead with, as Aries represents the divine masculine. So instead of coming at it from a kicking butt and being assertive angle, it's more of like, like what's going to be spontaneously giving you joy and pleasure and get you in a state of wanting to play, right? That is what it's referring to. Versus Aries normally is MO is to kind of just burst forth and, take an action first and ask questions later. This is more of like what's going to bring you joy and how can you make it a spontaneous adventure. Next we have Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. So there's a tender cleanse around your home, your sanctuary, your roots, your relationship to your roots. So planting the seeds for the type of ideal living situation that you want to experience as your new daily life. This is a good time to plant those seeds. It's also could be a good time to call in your soul home or also your soul family. So even if it means you can't necessarily physically move, if you've been thinking about it, um, who who do you want to be around? What's the environment you want to live around? And if that ideal environment is so far removed from your current reality, that's fine too. Can you make a vision board about it? Can you make it something inspirational to look at? Whatever you're going to create, it has to be inspirational, not so much like bringing you down because it hasn't happened yet. So again, adding joy to the process is the key.
Right. And then also, this would be a good time for you to remove things from the home that are no longer bringing you joy or no longer in alignment with who it is you are or are becoming, and bringing in that energy of just fresh vibes. Also, you may want to consider feng shuiing your home or changing and shifting the energy of maybe how you have your furniture. So it's not necessarily getting rid of said furniture, but maybe it's just a matter of changing the location. So for me, for example, when I had moved a office table that of mine from one end to the other end of the room, I was starting to feel like the room was collapsing on in on me. And then when I moved it again towards, I think they call it like king pose or whatever, where it's now in the middle of the room and you can see the entire room and the door is not blocked. Not going to get into the whole feng shui behind it, but from that point, the energy shifted now to where I'm able to focus better and to where I'm able to actually feel more inspired being in that environment than feeling like everything's just going to fall on top of my head.
Right, right. Get comfortable. That's what your home is for. All right, for Gemini Sun, Moon, and Risings, there's going to be a bold refresh around how you communicate your message. So, how can you infuse the true unbridled you while you're broadcasting your message? How can you show up, even in your voice, if you're doing a podcast interview, for example? How can you show up in a joyous way, right? You've heard some podcast episode where the person kind of just drones on. That's depressing. So, how can you show up and make it the most you? Where can you, or how can you infuse more of your true personality into your marketing, your imagery, your interviews without fear of it not being professional enough, quote unquote. So this is about being in joy and in pleasure and viewing life as a game. So how can you do that with your business? I'm not referring to gambling, but I am referring to making it a fun game versus making business like something a drudge you have to get through. And actually, where this is a good time to look at where can you rebrand? Maybe, for example, I do my new and full moon horoscopes twice a month, of course. So maybe I could infuse a little more femininity into my imagery since I'm all about divine femininity. Maybe I could speak the way or at least write the way I speak in real life. So some people have that thing, they think they have to be professional showing up. So you can be professional and also speak and write consistently. You can do both. So again, making it a fun, creative game, not something that is miserable and something you have to drag yourself through.
Also, maybe it's a time for you to show up in a less complex way. So maybe you're supposed to get out of your head as you're going ahead and showing up in your messaging. Stop thinking about how this is going to be received. And maybe also the inkling I'm getting is maybe you need to be releasing some sort of fear of how your message is going to be perceived and just say it, even if it does trigger a few people along the way.
Exactly. Right. And actually, this is also coming through. How can you deal with your perfectionism? I'm a perfectionist, so I've been working through that. So how can you show up and unbridled and unscripted as well? Not everybody's meant to be showing up super posh and polished all the time. All right. For Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Risings, we have a cleansing refresh around your values, your sense of self-worth, pleasure, and physical embodiment. So this is a good time to understand your relationship to money reviewing that, and planting the seeds of how you would operate in your business if you had the amount of revenue that you're working towards. Like, how would you show up already, right? So say you want to make $1 million because you've been stuck at, $500,000 for X amount of years. Okay, great. How can you wake up in the morning with the attitude of like, I already make $1 million? Cool. How can you dress? How does that person operate? Do they have a morning routine? If they do, what are they doing? How can you show up in that energy of it already coming into physical form so that you can speed up the manifestation process faster?
Right. It's all about the embodiment of that vision that you are holding. And one thing that's coming up for me in this sign in particular is just as you're doing it, maybe it's also time for you to refresh in the sense of getting back into your body and bringing pleasure into your body,
Mm,
bring joy back into your body. So just thinking of this from the aspect of like, how can you enjoy yourself more as you are currently manifesting these new manifestations?
yeah. And how can you make your money and finance reviews a pleasurable money date? That's what I've been working on. Versus like, oh, I gotta do bookkeeping. Like, how can you make it fun, right? How can you make it something that you are looking forward to doing versus something that you should be doing, right? You can have fun and you can also be responsible in your business as well. All right. So for Leos, Sun, Moon, and Rising, happy birthday season to you. So this is a new moon glow up energy. So you're used to being fabulous and shining your light most of the time. So now you can keep doing that while you enter this whole new solar return, right? So you're harnessing and activating that childlike, joyous energy. So you have cleared a lot from the previous full moon in Aquarius. So how can you show up as your most joyous, radiant, authentic, unbridled, fully self-expressed, truest essence self, right? I think of it as like, how can you increase the fabulosity of every day? How can you show up and be fabulous even in the days that you don't really want to feel fabulous, right? And even on the days that you do not feel fabulous, how can you infuse pleasure to like move through those feelings and get back to that childlike wonderment?
Yeah, it's all about having fun and like allowing yourself to enjoy life. This is definitely like a theme that I'm starting to pick up on is just enjoying life. Also moving away from the mundane aspects of it.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're going to have things that you have to do that are not necessarily so fascinating, but how can you do those things while enjoying them? Is there maybe a podcast you can be listening to as you're conducting some of them? Or is there a way of connection? And Leo in specific, as it is your birthday season, I am picking up on the energy of cultivating more community and
Mm.
being around more of those who already love you and who already see your true essence and already see the superstar in you.
Right. Right. Embody the superstar vibrations. All right. With that, we're moving on to Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So this is a really great time to reprogram your subconscious mind with the new habits, patterns, beliefs, and thought processes that will fully support the most joyous expression of your inner child. So when I'm saying this though, as I said earlier in this recording, not you're not really focusing necessarily on what you think you want to be viewed as. You're not trying to project what you think you should be. This is all about showing up as who you truly are before all of the conditioning you experienced as a child. So, maybe what brings you joy? What is guilty pleasure you just haven't had time for? Maybe you have like a creative project you put on the back burner. How can you make time for it now? Right? And how can it be fun? All right. With that, we're moving on to Libra, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So this is going to be a cleansing breath of fresh air around your friend groups and the communities that you belong to. So what kind of friend or connection do you want to be to others? Who do you actually enjoy being? And how can you show up as the person an earlier version of you needed in the past? So by reviewing and actually maybe inserting yourself into groups that you wish you could be a part of. Maybe there's a group of people that you always thought were secretly the cool kids. How can you show up with the energy that you're already a cool person anyway, and you can meet them? And then when you're intentionally meeting and networking with other people, you're coming at it from a place of wanting to give joy and value, not necessarily getting something out of someone else, because there's more than enough to go around. So no reason to be scarce or no reason to be stingy with your connections or with your insight. So by cultivating this space and planting these seeds, you actually allow more space for your hopes, dreams, and wishes to come into fruition as well.
Also, as a side note here, when you go into the relationship with adding value, even though you may be like, oh, such and such would be great to help me with X, the more you add value to them, even if it's as simple as not necessarily giving them context, but say it's just something small like, oh, I'm able to help you with a certain tech issue, or I'm able to help you with a different perspective. The more you add value and fill others' cups, it naturally attracts that energy of other people, not necessarily that person. Do not get me wrong. It is not always from that person. And when you go in from the energy of expecting it from said person, you're basically horse trading, which is going tit for tat. But if you go in with the energy of, I'm just going to add value to as many people as I want, the universe will find other people to add value to you. And sometimes it'll be the same people you've added value to. So just take that perspective with relationships. And obviously this does not just apply to this sign.
Right. Yeah. And you're making connections from a fun place, not from a transactional place. You're building relationships for the long haul. All right. Scorpio, sun, moon, and risings are next. So this is a rebrand around your career and your life's work. So what is the legacy that you're born to leave behind? And are you currently working towards that right now? So what are you known for? And if what you're known for currently, is that aligned with what your soul yearns to be doing? If not, what seeds can you plant to make that transition? So again, a lot of this is about following your soul and what it really wants to do. So a lot of people sometimes can be known in their industry and maybe they're actually not happy with it anymore. So how can you make that shift? If you are known for what you want to be known for and your soul is aligned with that as well, how can you heighten that? How can you increase it? How can you magnify it so that you can continue making a bigger impact from a place of joy?
And going back to that person who's maybe not quite there yet, I think it's very important to start looking at what is it that it's not only the next steps you can take to get into that place, but also where are you energetically blocking yourself from actually either taking the action or actually being in a place of alignment where you're actually doing what you love.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and risings. You're going to be experiencing a cleansing refresh of fresh energy around your ideals, your principles, what you stand for, and your search for deeper knowledge and wisdom. So this is focusing on deepening your knowledge and, again, what you're known for, right? What you're really interested in. And it's also a good time to ask yourself, how can you deepen your own mentorship? Is there anything you can invest in? It's not necessarily about buying more books. It's more about investing in other people to help guide you along so that you can live out the rest of your soul mission. And this refresh will also probably result in heightened feelings of optimism and reconnection to what you're here to be doing, to what you're incarnated for.
Mm-hmm. Allowing yourself to have that support and that guidance and that sometimes what I find, and this is what actually partially got me into coaching, is we know our potential, but we don't know where to go with that. And so sometimes having either a coach or a mentor of some sort can help you see not only your gifts, but they can also help you actually get to the point where it's like, okay, maybe your route right now is X. And if that feels aligned for you, because it's also tailoring what is in alignment with who you are, your true essence, but also kind of not only bridging the gap of where you want to be, but getting you ideas of how to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A roadmap, so to speak.
Right. Allow it to unfold. Again, utilizing play and joy to lead the way. All right. So for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Risings, you're going to be feeling maybe a curtain lifting from the area of life surrounding business, taxes, debt, loans, merged resources. You're going to be experiencing a different view of it. You're going to have a reframe. So business and wealth creation is a team sport, no matter what anyone says. Capricorn is used to really working hard and having that long-term vision, which is great. But you're also going to be experiencing a refresh in how you relate to others or how you ask others for help, and how you can work together with other people to build your wealth. You don't have to be all alone in a cave doing it by yourself. It's about reaching out to others. And with that, it'll give you more of a phoenix rising from the ashes. So again, you might have felt really heavy during the full moon in Aquarius. So again, this is lifting all of the heaviness off your shoulders. You don't have to do it alone. How can you cultivate space to welcome other people in so that they can support you?
Right. And also simultaneously, I think it's another way of starting to look at how can you serve at a different or deeper level. And maybe your shift right now needs to be looking at it from an aspect of service, not sales, and letting the sales eventually flow through from different
Mm,
avenues.
right, right.
Also, going in with that internal guidance and advice that you inherently usually have, because most Capricorns are like, I don't want to call them the kings of advice, but they are definitely up there in usually having a vision that can cultivate a sense of advice or a sense of knowing. So, how can you maybe also be sharing that wisdom with those around you?
Right. Don't be stingy. Share, you know? All right. Moving on, we have Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So there, you're going to be experiencing a cleanse and refresh and how you relate to others. So for this one, I'm getting like a romantic interpretation. So Aquarius, really is considered the humanitarian zodiac. However, I think the popular stereotype of Aquarius is that they don't care about human emotion. They can be kind of cutthroat, they can be kind of mean and really hard to deal with, especially in a romantic context, almost to the point of them being aloof, and the other person is wondering if the Aquarius even likes them in the first place. So this will be like a refresh in how you view dating or romantic relationships. And of course, this can also extend to networking or business partnerships, but for this particular one, I'm feeling this is romantic. So, how can you reframe how you view relationships? What are the seeds you want to plant to create the relationships you would truly like to experience in this lifetime? You have to get raw and real with yourself, Aquarius. This is about asking yourself, okay, if I'm going to be in a romantic relationship, what is the ideal situation? Is it where I'm with another person who's also as aloof as I am? Maybe that's really ideal for some Aquarian people. Like, it's fine. You want somebody who wants independence. Maybe historically you've only found people that are very dependent on you, and they want to be with you all the time. Are you getting real with yourself? Who do you want to be in a relationship with? You want to call in? And what qualities do they possess? What do you want to draw into your life? So plant those seeds. For those that are focused on business partnerships, again, similar questions here. What kind of business partner do you want? Do you want some guy who's like a silent partner? You're looking for investors. They're not necessarily up in your business, but they're supporting you in some way. Or do you want a business partner that takes the skills that you aren't necessarily good at, and that's their zone of genius, and now you've joined forces? What is something super awesome you can make together? What do you want to experience in this life with a partner? And what are you looking for? What are the exact qualities? Write them down, and then plant the seeds to call them in.
And just tidbitting off that, while it's important to look at the relationships with others, I'm also getting a kick in my intuition to mention looking at your relationship with your own self. How do you treat your own self? what expectancies do you have of yourself? And also, then going into that ideal version of the relationships you want to cultivate and seeing how are some things can you bring to your own self without you needing to depend on another person to give you that, but B, what are those qualities of those people that you are wanting to have around you, and how can you start embodying them within yourself? So again, you attract what you are. So if you're looking for a high value man, how can you begin to become a high value woman?
Exactly. All right. And then we're closing out here with Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So this is the time to set the intentions to support your highest health optimization. So you're used to having your head in the clouds, very much in this world, but not of it, which is fine. But we are here to remind you that you are having your spiritual being, having a human experience. So you do have to prioritize healthy exercise to kind of move your God-given body. So how can you make your morning rituals fun and your morning routines or evening routines something you look forward to as a pleasure, not a punishment? So how can you cultivate that? And how can you get into your body with pleasure and joy? Pisces and 12th house people have a predisposition to addiction and kind of tapping out because the earth can be a little hard to live on for some. But again, you chose to incarnate here and you got to take care of your body. So how can you do it in a fun way that you look forward to?
I'm really getting the energy of just slowing down for some Pisces people. So how can you begin to slow down? How can you begin to actually take care of you and your own needs? Maybe you're a parent who takes on loads of responsibility. How can you allow yourself to actually carve out your own time for you? And then in turn, focus on your health, focus on what you're eating, focus on the exercise, the movement. Just slow down and maybe also sprinkle in some self care days while you're at it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have closed out the horoscope and the cosmic weather forecast. Is there anything else you would like to share?
Not about the astrology reading, but what about you? Anything you have as a closing statement?
Yeah, so the last episode we did, which got great response, was about the sad weird girl summer. So again, we'll be closing out Leo season relatively soon. So I hope you enjoy this new moon, lap it up, enjoy it, and be as fabulous as you can be. Because eventually in August we're going to get into Virgo season, which is rather hardworking and very much focused on going in within. So again, this is the time to be fabulous and kind of have a hot, sad girl summer. We like that. Again, the retrograde in Venus, it will end on September 3rd, which in the US is Labor Day weekend. So, great time to let loose as well. And celebrate the fact that you've done this amazing inner transformation. So again, this is a good time to really pat yourself on the back and see how far you've come. Our next recording will be about the full moon in Pisces coming up in August as well. We have 2 full moons. So a lot of emotions going on, but it's okay. We're getting through it. You're doing fine. You're doing excellent, sweetie. And thank you very much for listening.
Actually, can we just title this Emotional Girl Summer?
Emotional feral girl summer. It's not unhinged though. It's not like crazy. Um, Also with Venus retrograde, there could be ex-boyfriends and ex-girlfriends show up and you're like, ew. So block, if they friend request you or follow you online, just say no, move on with your life. But it's a good point to think about them and reevaluate how far you've come. So again, pat in the back. How about full spectrum emotion, girl summer? Wild
Right.
woman
And
summer?
actually diving into all of it, the
Mhm.
barriers going back to our full moon reading, we had a lot of going into the deep shadows. And then with this one, it's kind of more overall, the arcing theme is just being lighter, being more playful, being more joyous, and stepping into that cultivation. So feeling the feels as they come and accepting them
Yes.
anyways.
Yeah, allowing them to move through you. That's where a lot of people get hung up. A lot of people try to suppress their emotions They don't view their body as like a channel, right? Our bodies are channelers. They're not necessarily meant to hold on to emotions. So it's very easy to be petty, and it's very easy to hold on to grudges for some people. But ultimately, that doesn't really help you reach your highest potential. So again, it's not forgive and forget and like pretend everything's chill. Do what you gotta do. There's a book called Pussy Reclamation, written by Regina Thomas Howard. Highly recommend. And one of the things, tools that she recommends for women is to set a container for grief or anger. It's called swamping. You can do it, for 5 minutes. You can do it for 30 minutes. And it's really just you wailing to whatever music gets you angry or sad and really working through the emotions and then ending it with a happy song, so that you have that container for the emotions. And that's the thing that children don't necessarily understand. Like little kids, they do not understand that their emotions are fleeting and they are not their emotions. So that's why they have tantrums in public and you're trying to grocery shop and this kid is like screaming in the middle of the aisle. You know what I mean? So they're just learning how to deal with their emotions. You're an adult, and although we're all children of God, we're also all adults of God, especially if you're over 18. So get with the program, allow yourself to experience those emotions, have them move through you like the responsible adult that you are, and then allow yourself the pleasure and the joy and celebration of doing that rather difficult thing and still being fabulous.
Right, because you've got this.
Exactly. So with that, that is the end of what I have to share.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your time. Please go ahead and share how people can connect with you.
Yes. So you can find me at Melanie_Marisol on Instagram. You can also find me at melaniemarisol.com. And also below, I have all my links to LinkedIn and also to book a reading with me. That is all down below.
Amazing. So, as for me, if you are looking to connect with myself, if you want to do a coaching session or a breathwork session, the links to connect are down below as well. And I do a free breathwork series session every other Saturday, which is usually some type of theme. And let me just preface this for those of you who have not actually done breathwork. It is not exactly like meditation. So it is not always necessarily going to feel so easy or peaceful. You will be doing work and you do tend to access your subconscious mind, your subconscious beliefs, and subconscious stories. So as you do it, you may not actually feel comfortable. It is not the most comfortable process. However, because of the connection between the subconscious brain, your body, your soul, I highly recommend it as a tool of actually rewiring and bringing in those manifestations. So if you would like to connect more, I have the links in the bio, and you can always message me on Instagram or email me, and we can connect for a session. So other than that, this is it for until next time, and I look forward to serving you all.
All right. See ya.